Hey, hi, everyone. Thank y'all for joining us for our Beef Brunch News Update on Tuesday, June 14th. You can see Vince and I if you're watching us on the video, but we do have Jason and Lee with us by phone. Jason is being very gracious because he is on vacation, but still joining us. So, Jason, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you do our update for the Northeast region.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. It's nice to be able to have a job where we can take a little leave every once in a while, and the technology that we have available to us today, that we can continue to provide reports like this one and still maybe not be at the office all the time. So it's good. We did catch some much needed rainfall across the Northeast region this past week. It was, I guess, spotty in nature. Some places saw 3 inches plus, some places barely caught a half inch, but regardless, I think pretty much everybody did catch a little bit of rain, which we'll always take any time we can get into June and close to the 4th of July. We'll take all the rain that we can get. Have had several folks say they've started scouting for some armyworms, not seeing any populations high enough at this point that justifies the spraying. But if you hadn't gotten those arsenals of insecticides on hand and prepared for armyworm season, then we certainly encourage you to go ahead and do that. Hopefully we will not see biblical proportions of armyworms like we saw last year. We definitely don't need that, coupled with all of the higher input prices. So hopefully we will not see those high populations. But regardless, you do need to get out there and make sure that you're scouting those hay fields, making sure that even though we might not be putting the maximum amount of inputs into those hay fields just because of cost this year, that doesn't mean we can't go out there and do our due diligence for any of those pest populations that may raise its head. And I'm sure Lee and Vince will have some other additional information there as they do their reports. So I'll go ahead and move in. If it's all right with you, I'll go ahead and move into the markets at this time. Looking at our markets for the week ending June the 10th. We've seen some excellent slaughter volumes thus far in 2022. And that is providing us some much needed currentness to our show list, and providing a sense of fairness as we look at our live cattle markets. And our live cattle markets have been so suppressed, and all of the cattle on feed reports that we keep getting just continue to be bearish, and we just couldn't catch a break. But it seems like our show lists now are finally starting to get a little bit of currency to them, and we will certainly take that fairness in the live cattle markets. This past week's slaughter at 674,000 head was large, but just barely over last year's large slaughter volume for the same week. Our exports continue strong. The upcoming slaughter week will test demand that does seem to be holding strong as we lead into the 4th of July holiday. Choice box beef closed the week at $271.03. That's up $3.81 with a choice select spread of $21.32. Which is up $3.40 from the previous week and about $1 lower than our 5-year average for the same week. As reported in the National Weekly Direct Slaughter Cattle Negotiated Purchasers Report on a confirmed 88,218 head. In the Texas Panhandle for the week, good movement was noted where the bulk of live purchases traded $1 higher at $1.36, with a few up to $1.37. In Kansas for the week, the bulk of live purchases traded $2 higher at $1.37, with a few up to $1.40. As you'll see, Nebraska and the Western Corn Belt rung the bell this week on some cash prices. Nebraska for the week, live purchases traded $2 to $3 higher, from $1.41 to $1.43, with a few up to $1.45. In the Western Corn Belt, trading and demand were moderate for the week, where live purchases traded $1 to $2 higher, from 141 to 143, with a few up to 145. So you can see that those areas of the country, they really stepped out there and are starting to demand some really good cash prices on those fat cattle. Live cattle futures market settlements in the front month ended the week with June down 85 cents at 136.20, August down $1 at 136.20, and October down 68 at 141.97. Live cattle futures ended the week up $3.40. I'm sorry, live cattle futures ended the week up $3 to $4 compared to the week open. Sorry about that. 500 to 600 pound steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold between 166 and 180. So we have to step back a little bit because the ending 10th would have been the week that we Memorial Day holiday. A lot of our livestock auctions were closed, so it seems that are pretty aggressive whenever they came back off of those closed, and really looking for some cash to buy. So again, they sold between 166 and 180, which is generally about 30 when compared to the previous week sale that we had. 7 to 800 pound feeder steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold between 146 and 149, which was $1 to $7 higher compared to the previous week sale. Futures markets on that same class of cattle, settlements in the 4 months ended the week with August trading down $1.55 at 174.47, September down $1.32 at 176.05, and October down $1.15 at 177.55. However, if we look at how the week opened, we did end the week $1 to $3 higher. And this, just when we thought this cull cow, slaughter cow market was going to start taking a little downturn, boy, it came back with a vengeance on us all of a sudden. Or these slaughter cow prices are still amazing people, and the biggest question that it raises is what is that going to continue to do with our inventory going forward as it relates to our domestic inventory of beef cows that are out there, because we continue to slaughter a lot of cows with prices as good as they are right now. So as we look at those lean cull cows and thin conditioned, into the week up 9 cents at 70 cents a pound. Boning utility, those in moderate condition, into the week up 7 cents at 80 cents a pound. And those breakers in high condition into the week up 12 cents at 84 cents a pound. So they continue to be pretty robust as well. Looking at our feedstuff markets, soybean meal is up $21.20 at $459.10 a ton. Soybean hulls are steady at $155 a ton. Cottonseed meal is down $10 at $390 a ton. Whole cottonseed is steady at $450 a ton. We didn't have a report this week out of Louisiana on rice bran. Corn gluten feed, the 6% product is down $5 at $765 a ton. DDGs are down $18.33 at $281.67 a ton. And our corn, and we're getting all new crop prices now, so we don't have any old crop. This is all new crop prices on our corn, so it's up 14 cents a bushel at $7.34 a bushel. And that wraps up our markets for the weekend of June 10th. Ashley, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for doing all of that, and we hope that you have a good vacation the rest of this week. Lee, I'm changing all the whole routine up here, but since Lee's called in, I'm going to go ahead and let you go next, sir.
Well, thank you, Ashley. Glad to be with you all today. Hot and humid is the word for Northwest and northern Louisiana in general. We're touching with the 100-degree mark, flirting with it, I guess you would say. Highs in the mid to upper 90s with high humidity levels. And, boy, you can really feel it, too. It's hot out there. As Jason stated, we caught a lot of the beneficial rains that hit the northeastern part of the state. Amounts are all over the board, much as what Jason stated. But the one unifying thing is everybody was grateful for what they got, especially this time of year. No armyworms have been reported, to my knowledge, in our little corner of the state. But people are looking for them. People are actively out scouting fields and trying to keep an eye on things. This hot weather has really ground cattle working to a halt. Or if there is any going on, it's early in the morning, 5 to 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and people are wrapping it up and trying to get done just to avoid any stress on the cattle, which, by the way, it bears mentioning. Ashley talked at length on these recordings and such about the need for shade and water. and that now is just as important a time as any. Be conscientious of that. You know, this hot weather can be very detrimental to these cattle, especially if you're trying to wean some fall calves or doing any big cow working or holding cattle in a lot. Make sure you got adequate water and shade, of course, for them during this time. There's still some fall born calves being weaned. I would say that the majority have been gathered and are gone. As with the ryegrass yearlings and any cattle that were grazed over the winter, I would say over 90% in our part of the world have gone somewhere else, unless they're being kept for a replacement heifer program or some other purpose. These high inputs, they just keep weighing on us. And Jason spoke at length about some optimism in the markets, and I'll agree based on what these local auction markets did last week, that there is some optimism based off the selling prices on these calves and what these killing cows and killing bulls are bringing. But my goodness, these input costs, the price of fuel, fertilizer, while it has dropped just a touch, is still very high. And what strikes me as amazing as you go through life and life as it is today, the fact that the prices, you can't really anticipate what the price is on something, because it may change a couple of days after you quote it, and it may be a wide swing. The other thing is it's crazy the type of shortages you run into, and it's stuff you never would anticipate. The various things that we all use in the cattle business. So I guess my little rant on this supply of problems and the input cost is, if you're looking at a big job, if you're looking at making some improvements, fencing and stuff, you better check your prices, and especially if you hadn't lately, because you can get some sticker shock on some of these input costs. And I'm going to wrap it up with my final thing, Ashley, is going to be, if you listen to these reports, and I know a number of you do and do so faithfully, and you listen to these market reports that Jason gives, a number of you may have never fed a pen of cattle, may have never sent any to feed yard and seen them through to harvest, and that's okay. And you know, the reason why this matters is because all these factors that Jason's talking about these fat cattle prices and movements going on with the board, they directly influence what your cattle are bringing at auction. If you're selling either weaned calves or calves straight off the cows, or if you're grazing some yearlings and selling them at a increased weight, it all has a direct bearing on what your cattle are bringing. So it's easy for the small cow-calf producer to not really pay attention to what's going on in the feedlot and the feeder cattle world, but I'm telling you folks, it has a direct bearing on what our checks are from our local auction market or our local dealer. So take time and learn, if you can, a little bit about more what happens down the supply chain as we move forward through production stages with our cattle. With that, Ashley, I'm going to wrap it up and turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Vince, it's your turn now. If you don't mind giving our update for Central and South Louisiana, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad to be with y'all today. And, you know, the rain pretty much, covered the statewide, with the exception to the southwest corner. It kind of lightened up and kind of headed northwest to southeast, if you would. And but we all did get a touch of a shower last Friday, Thursday night and Friday. Some areas, again, like Lee and Jason alluded to, were received more. Some up to 2 inches. Some were in a gap that got none, 2 3/10. We're dry. I mean, overall, we're dry. People are starting to make a little dry hay this week, especially with these high temperatures. But by golly, as Lee alluded to, the humidity here, I'm 65, 70 miles off the Gulf, and it's, the last few mornings you wake up and it's like you can cut it with a knife. Honestly, it's been so humid. Cattle are hunting shade by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's today is awfully hot. So I'll jump on that bandwagon of shade and plenty of water, and especially if you have herd bulls that some breeding seasons have ended for our December and January calving time period. Those bulls need some extra comfort. They need to be in a comfortable place where they don't have to travel far for water. We touched on horn flies 2 weeks ago when we last met. We definitely need to keep track on top of these horn flies. We get in drought stress situations. That's when our insects are worse. Horn flies, start scouting for the armyworms, as Jason alluded to. We're starting to see some birds kind of gather around in the central part of the state, and you know what that spells. The other thing, Bermuda stem maggots has been a problem over the last few years, where we concentrate high and rich inputs into some of our Bermuda hay fields. That's where they like it the best, but the fact is that people have basically cut down on some of their nitrogen applications due to the cost involved. There's not a lot of equipment moving around in the cattle world. Only the necessary or the necessity is taking place. I can tell you that. A lot of empty fuel tanks right now, but the fuel continues to go up, and that's a common conversation amongst clients and producers I run into. Just not sure what the fallout's going to be, but it's not going to be good. The one caveat is, as Jason alluded to, the market's fairly good. They're not what they were probably prior to the war beginning in Ukraine. But again, it's $1,000 fertilizer per ton, and somebody quoted a price of $4.85 on some farm fuel this morning. So we're approaching $5 farm fuel. That's hard to imagine, especially those farming operations that will burn 500, 600, 700 gallons a day per piece of equipment, trying to get some field work done. It's going to be an interesting year. Needless to say, my wife said it over the weekend. 2022 is not going to be good for much, and I'm just afraid of where all this is going. But again, as Lee alluded to, some cow workings are still taking place, but very few. Most everybody's got everything wrapped up going into the summer season, just letting cattle graze. It's as Ron Strahan refers to, it's Africa hot out there right now. Grass is growing where there is some soil moisture. So myself as a cow-calf producer, I'm not going to put a whole lot of fertilizer out this year, but I'm just cut hay on what I got and what's growing, and hopefully we can make it through the winter on what we got. Maybe concentrate on taking care of some ryegrass and making sure these pairs are fed and milking well through the fall and winter. So that's about where we're at. The kill cow market, Jason alluded to that as well. It's still, those cows that are not in production or you got bag issues or some quality issues with some cattle. If they should be in good flesh going here forward, and part some ways with some of these older cattle or cattle that are low producers, because they're just eating a hole in that pocket, or that input cost going forward. So take advantage of a lucrative market there. Make sure your bulls are comfortable, because that's your calf crop in the future, and prepare for what's ahead. Early ryegrass bookings may give a benefit to a cost break. If you're going to buy diesel, buy it in a little bit bigger bulk than you have before. That might be a little cost savings. It's hard to say going forward, but there's a lot of concern out there for the future of the beef cattle industry in the South, especially. And again, as Lee alluded to on fencing materials, we got people still recovering south of I-10 from Hurricane Laura and Delta and Ida. They can't find fence posts right now to put fences back up in the coastal regions of the state. So they're challenged with that. And they're running short on grass where they had to move cattle up above the intercoastal because of the drought conditions. So it's a real challenge.
Thank you, sir.
That basically wraps up what I have.
Thank you. I didn't mean to cut you off. I wasn't sure. So a few things. I know Vince mentioned his master cattleman, I think on the last news update, correct? Do you want to talk about that again real quick?
Yeah, we have a registration out currently for a Master Cattleman program, which was scheduled to start on August the 4th over at the what was the Rospine Research Station in Rospine. We have that registration process open right now. Folks can contact me, and if I don't know if you supplied a link through the update, but we can do that. We have not had any registrations at this point. It closes July 15th, so we basically have 30 days left for registration. We put it out in the newspaper in Leesville and some of the other farm-related businesses in the area. Hopefully that starts to gain some traction. Last year we tried one in the New Roads area with minimal interest and registration, so we tried moving it this year and see what we can generate on the west side of the state.
Thank you. I still have to get the website updated, but I put your email in the last news update so they could email you if they found that. So hopefully I'll get the website updated today or tomorrow for that. We do have 2 more classes also going on. So in the Southeast region, it'll be at the West Feliciana office. Dr. Donna Gentry is hosting one September 1st through November 3rd. Registration for hers closes August 15th. And then Miss Randi Lynn Toups has one in Lafourche Parish for surrounding parishes. So it'll be there in Raceland. Her registration technically closed on the 10th, but I haven't talked to her today. I'm sure if you hear this and you give her a call, she'll let you know if there's still spots available for that. Hers will begin July 13th, and it's going to go every other week through November 16th. So I'll put all those emails in this news update. And again, I'm working on getting the website updated, but if you just look under the beef cattle site under programs, you'll see Master Cattleman, and we'll get all those up there soon. Another event that I want to go ahead and put on your calendar is a Marketing Your Beef. So this is talking in-product marketing. That's going to be Friday, July 22nd during the day at the State Evacuation Shelter. I'm still working on putting all of it together. Louisiana Beef Industry Council will be providing lunch for y'all, so it's going to be a free event. We will require RSVPs for that. Once I get all that up, we'll let you know, and you'll see it through email and social media and listen to it on here. But we're going to talk everything from managing and finishing cattle, quality and yield grades, the harvesting process, laws and regulations, getting a label together, the products that people want. So, if you were to sell to a restaurant or a local store or something like that, what products are they looking for? And then we'll have a producer panel talking about their experiences and giving some of their advice for that. So again, we're looking at Friday, July 22nd. Registration would be at 8:30. And we would conclude it by 4 o'clock there. It'll be at the State Evacuation Shelter in Alexandria. And then the other thing is today, when this news update goes out on June 14th, we have Mr. Andrew Granger coming in for our webinar, and he's going to be talking pre-weaning management for calves. So depending on when you hear this news update, if you can catch it live at 10:30, please join us. If not, we will get that recording up and posted at least by the first part of next week so that y'all can go back and watch that. And then you'll be able to send any questions to Andrew that you may have if you're not able to watch it live. So I think that that's it. We are crossing our fingers for maybe some more rain. I was driving from Alexandria to Farmerville last Friday, and I thought I was going to pull over in Winfield for a little bit because it was pouring pretty hard. So we're grateful for what we have gotten and hope that we can get some more. In the meantime, if y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll be back with you in a couple of weeks.